Every day, Jonathan Walton goes to class to teach about American religious traditions. He's a professor of religious studies at UC Riverside. He's also a self-styled hip-hop intellectual. One may not see the connection, perhaps there isn't one, but we sat down with him recently to find out.
I actually entered the academic arena so that I could give credence and clarity to the numerous voices of African American religious people. Great figures like Frederick Douglass and Jarena Lee, Ida B. Wells, and the Prince of the Black Church, Martin Luther King Jr. The way that they became God-ordained instruments, if you will, for freedom and justice and helped this nation to live up to its sublime ideals and noble principles of freedom, justice, and democracy for all. They really informed the way that I approach the field of religious studies. As a child, I always wanted to be an entertainer. But yet I can't rap, sing, dance, whistle, I can't do anything. But yet I see the classroom as a stage. And this is my opportunity in the classroom to pull young people up on the intellectual stages with me. I'm a child of the 80s, so thus I'm a product of the deindustrialized spaces of these disillusioned and despaired voices that were able to create artistic exuberance and aesthetic brilliance through this genre called hip-hop. When I talk about hip-hop, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about the sort of billion-dollar focused room corporate industry that is really circulating images around American society and globally, actually, that really I don't believe, and many don't believe, really necessarily signify what hip-hop is and what hip-hop is about. The masochistic, violent dimensions of hip-hop that we often see on display, that's not what I'm talking about. But I am talking about the way that in the tradition of great jazz artists, in the tradition of literary figures that used artistic production as a form of protest, I'm talking about the way that these great street poets and bards of inner cities were able to deploy the English language against the larger American society in such a way where it holds up a mirror to show America its contradictions and its inconsistencies. For people who have been largely denied political access and economic capital, art is resistance. Art is a form of protest. Whether we're talking about slaves singing spirituals in the antebellum South, whether we're talking about the courageous cultural reflections in novels of a Ralph Ellison or a Toni Morrison, or whether we're talking about Mahalia Jackson or Aretha Franklin singing the spiritual strivings and articulations of black people. Well, hip-hop at its best is an extension of this grand tradition. Oftentimes people think of the black church and hip-hop as antithetical, but I don't necessarily see it that way. But yet when we think about the images that are often deployed in the larger society, particularly coming from the civil rights generation of educated and erudite and well-dressed young men and women on the one hand, and then it seems like hip-hop represents the debased and debaucherous aspects of black progress run amok. But oftentimes the two are just part and parcel of a larger grand tradition of using whatever tools can be used to be deployed against the larger society. So what you end up having is, in some ways, hip-hop, with all of its truncated nature, its homophobia, its sexism, all of its shortcomings. It serves as a mirror to the black church. I often see that when I'm talking to larger groups, that when we think of the KRS-Ones and the Chuck D's of the world, it's better to think of them in a larger tradition of the Joan Baez's and the Bob Dylans and the Pete Seegers. These artists that were able to ring the alarm, if you will, through their musical production. These people that were able to rally young forces from their apathy and from their sleep, if you will, in such a way that they're able to raise their consciousness to make them more politically aware and politically astute young people. And so thus we have to give credit and credence to hip-hop for doing this in similar ways as generations, white, black, and other, that have come before. No matter what your race, no matter your ethnicity, no matter your religious orientation, your gender, or your sexual orientation, I figure we all have a sermon to preach. We all have rhymes to spit. We all have something to contribute to the larger society. And I hope that through my work, our young people will be able to find their own artistic voice.